Andy, my man, thank you so much for joining me on the Entrepreneur Fitness Podcast today. How are you doing, my brother?
Oh, my pleasure, Brandon. I'm excited, mate. I'm looking forward to connecting with your crew and seeing how we can help them, man.
Dude, we've got a good crew here. And I think you're a perfect person to have on the show because you are Mr. NLP. You are Mr. Take the Entrepreneur to the next level, Mr. Peak Performance. And so, of course, my audience knows any guest I have on, I'm just going to grill them and try to pull out all that awesome knowledge you have. So are you ready for me to dig in on you, man?
Yeah, mate, that's the point. Let's get into this. Whatever you want to ask, I'm going to answer, mate. Don't mind if it's the wrong or right answer, but I'll give you an answer.
Sure, yeah. Of course. We'll get some answer.
You get an answer, buddy.
So I want to talk a lot about mindset today, but before I even hop into that, I saw something on your website that I have to ask. It says, what separates the top 1% of entrepreneurs in the world from others? Mm-hmm. Here's the missing element. I think everyone wants to hear what comes after the ... Here's the missing element.
Well, it's me, mate. But it's awareness, because the performance is about building the correct neurology. It's about interrupting the patterns, and it's about awareness that you have an unconscious, conscious mind and how to navigate through the both of them. That's the difference that makes the difference. Whether I'm working with world champion athletes or some internet marketers that are pushing like 16 plus million a year, or I'm working with Saudi royalty, it doesn't matter, man. It's the same thing. It's the awareness of how to build the correct neurology to make you think, feel, and act the way you want it, you know?
So is this something that you condition into yourself by practicing certain habits, or how can you create that neurology? I mean, you and I both do anchors, right? So we both do NLP, hypnosis stuff, and we can build in anchors. Is there something, of course, like people can go to your website and they can hit you up and be like, hey man, teach me how to anchor in these different neurological states. What are some things that people could do to get into these states on their own?
Absolutely, man. It's we'll go into how neurology is constructed in a moment, but again, there's two ways to build this software, this neural net. We build it externally or internally. So it builds the same thing. We do those two things together. It creates congruence, that's why we're able to get rapid results with what we do. So it's a case of, to understand about neurology, it's the best way I describe it is, it's the software that plays in the background of your head. It's like the software that plays in the background of a computer. What does that do? Well, it's automatic. It makes your computer perform a certain way and it gets outdated. That's exactly the same way with your brain as it is with a computer. So we've got to be a technician and get in there and rewire what isn't working so we can update what we want it to do.
Mm-hmm. So more or less this computer that we need to unwire, are you really talking about what many people refer to as the unconscious mind?
That's it, man. That's exactly it. And the unconscious mind is the how. It's like that's your hard drive. That stores all the software that is basically playing automatically. That's what contains every decision about the world since you've been born. And even before you've been born, your unconscious mind was building neurology. So if your parents were arguing on the outside, guess what? You're stepping out inside that world going, damn, it's scary out there. I need to be safe. So already your beliefs and your attitudes and your language is already, coming out the wrong way, the right way. Well, it just depends on what decisions you make, you know?
Yeah, man, that reminds me, what you're talking about, what happens on the biological level there when we're in the womb. That reminds me, have you read the book Biology of Belief?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so it goes deep into that. Just for you listeners, if you guys want to learn more about that and the effect that our thoughts and emotions have on our cells, even in the womb, you should check out Biology of Belief. But not to get on a completely different tangent, but I had to throw that in there.
Absolutely.
So, man, I'd love to hear you talk about some of the tactics that you use to help rewire people.
For sure. I mean, obviously we can't go into the unconscious stuff today. Sure. But again, as I said before, there's two ways to build this neurology. So the best way to understand it is that there is different patterns of behavior playing. And so just because you're walking into a room, or, for example, you're picking up a phone to do a sales call, right? Understand, for example, for the entrepreneurs out there, that just because you're picking that phone up, it doesn't mean that the right thought patterns, feelings, beliefs, attitudes are firing the right way. So just first of all, be aware of that. There's old neurology that's still firing. You could be arguing 2 seconds before with somebody, right? But what salespeople tend to do, or entrepreneurs in general, they tend to just jump on the phone and expect to get the same result. It don't work like that. So it's about state control. And that's what I specialize in. I design peak performance states for everyone. TV, people getting on TV sets, to people stepping on stage, to people just kicking ass in life. But understanding the separation of those states is something so crucial, because if I was putting an example, I always use this as an example. If I was working with a professional fighter, for example, let's use an extreme example. And if I was putting him into the cage, he's thinking, feeling, and acting a very specific way. The micro muscles on his face are firing, his heart rate, etc., etc. Well, if you imagine that as a bubble, that's a very different bubble or state to when he's going to talk to his mum, or he's going to relax, or he's going to do something else. So that's also the same for everyone out there in different sections and portions of the day. Whether they're trying to do a sales call or be creative, all of these are very different states or different neural nets. So why we want to keep them nice and clean is because then we're able to develop and grow the muscle, which is neurology is a muscle. So we're able to grow that new muscle so you can perform exactly how you want to, when you want to.
Yes.
Make sense?
That's a huge thing I hope everyone just listened to Andy talk about. Andy said that our neurology is a muscle that we must grow. Like, a lot of people think that it's just like all of a sudden you're just going to have this amazing emotional fitness and you're going to be able to get into state on command. But this is something that, just like you're growing your muscles, you're growing your physical muscles, you're growing your neurological muscles, and you condition this by doing it over and over and putting yourself into those states constantly. And like you said, cleaning it up and making sure that those states are exactly what you want. I don't know if you want to speak to that any more personally.
That's exactly. But what people aren't aware is that this is going on. Neuroplasticity, right? Because every single time a neural net is fired, it's connected to an internal filter system in your head, which is connected to a chemical response which flows through every cell and fiber of your body. So it's like, if people aren't motivated in the moment, well, guess what? You're not firing the right state. So when we were able to interrupt this pattern and take conscious control of it, then we're able to be who we need to be in the moment. What hat do we need to put on? What role do we need to play? And as an entrepreneur, the challenge is that we're playing like 20 different roles. So you best be damn good at being aware of what state you need to be in when you need to be in it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So how do you train yourself to decipher like what state is appropriate at what time? Because very much so, you don't want to go and talk to your mother like you're, in the same state that you're about to go get in a fight,
I hope not.
That's like a very extreme example. But, at different times, like, if you're looking to get involved with someone intimately, maybe to connect with them at a really deep level and make them feel like they're really being valued, then you want to get into a different state. And are each one of these states just ones that you just really just practice getting into and mastering?
Well, each one of these states is absolutely very unique. It's very separate, right? And it is, because again, in each state, your heartbeat, everything changes. So if you're trying to get connected with somebody, guess what? Yeah, you're exactly right. You don't want to be thinking about fighting unless that's what the girl likes. I don't know. But
hey.
Jokes out there, jokes. But at the end of the day, it's a case of it's awareness, because when we're working with peak performance clients, then we would actually be able to sit down and blueprint exactly what they're trying to do. So we'll be looking at their beliefs, their attitudes, the language, the values that are playing. We'll be able to look at what they're trying to connect that state into, and we'll be also looking at the things that hold them back. So, but what the first thing that everyone can do out there is, well, you can model for a start. I mean, that's a great way. If you're not sure exactly who to that's not inside of you, and you haven't gone to me or like Brandon, where we can go back and actually elicit and pull out those memories and start winding them together for you. It's a case of you can actually look at who is it around you or on TV or in a movie. What attributes do they have that you consider you'd love inside of you? So if it's connecting with somebody, well, there's enough romantic comedies out there, right? They teach you on a beautiful level how to, what tonality they use, what pace, the pitch, the timbre of the voice they use, their physical touch, how they gaze in each other's eyes. So basically, what is it? It's being present. Because if you're present and in the moment, guess what happens? You're not thinking about what happened before or after. And that as an entrepreneur, we have so much going on that our minds are constantly future, past, future, past, future, past, future, past. So by being present in the moment, if you're being intimate with someone, if we're using that as an example, then it's about being in the moment. But before you get in the moment, you can literally sit down and design how do you want to think, feel, and act? Once you've done that, yeah, absolutely. By physically visualizing it, it's going to help, for sure. But even by being aware that you're going to be this person is going to help. But then we can do the magic, which is getting into the software by using hypnosis and neuro linguistics and dropping your brainwave frequency down so we can access the unconscious mind, so we can rewire. But again, you don't have to do that. Just by, remember I said you can build neurology two different ways, externally, internally. So externally, it's going to take a lot longer, which is what Brandon's saying. You can practice. But hey, at least you're going to be able to find that right state, and you're going to make everyone happy, right?
Yeah, man. And I think something that people can do as well is elicit memories where you feel like you were in, my audience hears me talk about this all the time, but elicit memories that take you into a flow state. So maybe you were connecting to someone. I don't know why I keep on going back to this, the intimate relationship, but maybe you're like connecting and you're like, wow, like I was so present with this person at this time, and they felt so valued and so loved. And so how was I acting? What was I doing? What was that memory like for me? And take yourself through, kinesthetically and emotionally and visually, and what does it sound like, and take yourself back to that memory completely. And if you can do that and you just close your eyes, you can really capture that state again. And once you're able to capture it, you can be like, okay, now I can go forward and I can try to elicit these same feelings. And I think that's a great thing that people can do before. Of course, like what we do is on the unconscious level where we can anchor it and make it very deep. But I mean, it's just cool to play around with it, because I have something I have this app called Vision Box, and I always write things on my lock screen, so you can see right there. People are listening on audio, can't hear this, but my lock screen says, "Are you being lazy? Are you attracting abundance?" And I have that on there because I feel like emotionally, once you have this knowledge what we're talking about right now, that you can emit any emotion you want or create any state you want at any time, then if you're not in a positive growth state, then you're just being lazy. Because now. You know that all the best things are going to come to you if you don't do it. And so this was a big aha moment for me. I'm like, if I'm not creating these states that are optimal for me, I'm just being lazy. So, and it's harsh. I mean, for most people that hear this for the first time, they're going to be like, you're being a dick, dude. Like, what do you mean? I can't be happy all the time. But that's a stand I try to hold.
You can't be happy all the time. But the point is to always do your best. And what that means is it's if you're sad, do your best get back to happiness. If you're tired, do your best. If you're full of energy, do your best. It's one of the key elements that as entrepreneurs and our athletes, it's with our obsessive nature, we tend to push. Now, most coaches and most people will tell you to push, work hard to do this. But that's not the truth. Going through like the things that I've been through in my life, it's a case of you can redline for only so long before it takes cellular degeneration and damage. So it's about being able to create a balance. That might be an extreme balance in your life, but it's also being aware of listening to your body. And by listening to body, your body will tell you what it needs, and whether it needs food because it's telling you because you feel hungry, but it's also going to tell you when you're tired or you're stressed or you're maxed out. At the end of the day, you can only do your best each day. And again, NLP and all the behavioral stuff aside, that's just being kind on yourself. And that's a huge lesson, which took me a long time to learn. It really did.
Yeah, I mean, it's reasonable because in the entrepreneur community, in the startup community, like the mindset is always just like, you know, celebrate you for going over the top and killing yourself, and you know, the coders who are working 18-hour days and not sleeping and eating really shitty food and you know, not getting the sleep they need. It's almost celebrated, and it's like, oh, you know, you just worked so hard. But what most people don't understand is that when you're eating the right foods and you're resting properly and you're taking care of yourself, you're putting yourself in much better emotional and mental states, so you're performing better. So you may be getting more done by taking that sleep, by taking care of yourself, by exercising, by doing those things. And
absolutely. Because the thing is, I mean, you can go into different ways around this, but it's again, we're trying to create optimum performance. And if you're getting brain fog because of even being in Wi-Fi too much or around radiation too much from other stuff, or you're not sleeping properly, your brain can't function. And if you've not got the correct diet, your brain can't function. The other thing you got to understand is that the unconscious mind, this automatic bit that plays in the background of your head, it's also called the body mind. And the body mind is the bit of your mind that breathes you, it blinks you, it affects your lymph system, your adrenal glands. And if you're not managing your mental state with diet and also stress management, etc., then your body's just not going to be performing. It's going to affect your adrenal glands and etc., etc. Now, I know everyone out there is like an entrepreneur into health. So, I mean, that's something for everybody out there to really pay attention to.
Yeah. And I think when you do that, when you're taking care of yourself, it much more allows you to enjoy the process and, like we talked about, get present with what you're doing.
Right.
Versus like being like, okay, you know, where's that result? Because you know, I mean, you've been incredibly successful. Like, there is no end result. You know, there's no.
You've let the cat out the bag, buddy. You've let the cat out of the bag. It's so funny. And I was talking about this to a client today. There's no big celebration that's going to come on. It's like when you get more money, or you get the numbers on your podcast, right? It's like, then what? It's just numbers, and it's just numbers sitting in your bank. It's just, you end up just keep doing what you're doing because that's what created a result, and you just keep doing more of it, which means you just keep being more of you. And the numbers go in the bank, the numbers go on the podcast, the numbers do this, but at the end of the day, you just keep being the best version of you, and that's all you can do. That's all you can do, is be the best version of you. All the other stuff that just appears around you, right? Yeah, man.
You're going to love this. Well, this isn't going to be great for the people who are on audio, but I'm just going to show you this. I have this right next to my desk right here. Keep on pulling all my little things I have hanging around. And so right here, bam, it says, fuck the numbers, make an impact on people's lives. Because
I love it, man.
That's really all that matters. And so no matter what business you're in, like, yeah, the numbers are cool because like they mean that you're making progress and you'll be able to touch more people, help more people.
Absolutely.
But it is about just really trying to help that individual and keeping them in mind no matter what you do.
And it is. And if every and I think that's the same with you, Brandon. I mean you've obviously had great success. I mean, it's a case of, I mean, I think it always goes back to, I mean, it sounds cheesy these days to say because it's been so overused, man. But it's like the why. Because my why is constantly kept expanding. Because I don't ever wake up. I wake up like every day right now because I just brought new assistant in. It's like my schedule's insane. But guess what? I don't ever wake up going, oh no. With my job, I wake up, I lean over, go, okay, let's get up, and then sit back on my bed or whatever, because that's where or my office or whatever, because that's where I work from. I don't ever go, oh no, I'm going to help loads of people today. It's like, it just doesn't happen. I might go, damn, I'm tired. I wish I could take the day off. But then it's nice because, well, we can. When we choose to, so we can build our calendar and our schedule around that. I think the other thing, which is a nice thing, we were talking about states before, is to help entrepreneurs is make sure you're time managing your day, and make sure you're putting a calendar around your week, because you don't always have to be on. So if you work around your calendar, then there's times where you have off. times when you have on, and you can structure your calendar that way. That's also about stepping it in that state to go, okay, I'm really creative in the morning. Sweet. Then allocate that for a couple of hours for your creative time. If you like to talk to people in the afternoon, cool. Allocate those times to talk. So work around yourself. So that's how you're able to naturally, organically change these states that we're on about.
Yeah, I love that, man. I think it's so important to craft your days around when you're in your best peak states, and it's all about optimizing. You know?
It is. And that takes a bit of practice too, right? And I've made like 8 billion mistakes, and I keep making them every single day, but we just keep learning, man.
Me too, man. I've made way too many mistakes, and you keep iterating, you keep learning, and you get better as time goes by. But I love to. I mean, so you specialize in getting people into states to perform their best. So I'd love to hear your opinion on the topic of just like work-life balance. And you talked about creating a schedule, and it's so hard for an entrepreneur who is the business to turn off and decide, well, I'm not doing any business stuff, because you do enjoy it, but at some point it is good to disconnect a little bit. I'd love to hear your opinion about that.
Sure, I can take my opinion to an extreme experience, because it's like all my life, everything's been extreme. Since doing martial arts at the age of 9 years old, all I've done is trained, and I was fought when I was younger, and I mean, a lot. So my whole life's been revolved around martial arts. So I got taught at a very early age to push. Just push and push and push. I was taught by a lot of Japanese, so it's a case of, okay, you got a broken finger. They look at you like, what's your point? Put some tape on it and carry on fighting. So unfortunately and fortunately, I took that into my business world 12 years ago when I first started doing Neuro Linguistics in Sydney in Australia. And it was a case of, it brought me to, like, again, my story, you can go on my website and check it out, but it got to age of 27 where I was putting a Fijian resort together and building that project. Business partner thought it was a good idea to steal all my money and sent me to bankruptcy and nervous breakdown. And yet still, I'd push and push and push and push. And it destroyed my nervous system. It ruined my adrenal glands. And I still would push and push and push. So this is why for these days, I'm so adamant on my clients being happy and healthy. The business, secondary. Because if your health's not there and you're not happy, you can't perform optimally in your business. So these days, because I lost everything back then, and I've rebuilt my life many, many times, and I come over to California, rebuilt my career, but it's so important to understand, one, why you're building the business. So I was really dealing with one of the top internet marketers in the world who was my client not so long ago. And again, they did a $16 million+ launch a few months ago. So the big players. And it's like he was away all the time. And I was like, why are you doing this business? And he's like, so I can spend time with my family. Right. And he's away constantly. So it's about understanding that what's the most important thing. And then it's about making sure that if you're so focused on business and you shut the door for the day on business and the rest of your life is in chaos, then you can't be focusing on your business the right way. Because in the back of your head, you're worrying about your health. You're worrying about your partner, your family, all your friends. There is a massive, massive balance. And so by allocating your day, by understanding these states change, by doing your best in each of these states or each of these moments, you can give your all. And if that again involves going, okay, on Friday night, I'm not going to be crazy and OCD out. I'm going to actually go and spend time with my friends, but I've always got work to do. You've always got work to do. But it's a case of, the biggest thing about this is, like we were just talking about with Brandon, actually brought up a great point, was that it's making sure that you create this balance so we don't, so every area of your life is happy. Every area of your life you're enjoying, because it's the journey. And like we were saying before, you're not going to cross this fantasy finish line. It's just, you set one goal, you achieve it, and then guess what? There's another 20 goals to achieve. So it's about celebrating. And it sounds so cheesy now, but it really is, because we're producing mass quantities of dopamine and serotonin when you celebrate something. And And for everyone out there, make sure that I call them the 8 different business balances, but make sure your home is the right way. And it doesn't necessarily need to be the nicest home, but you need to be stepping into each individual room of your home and make sure it's making you think, feel, and act a certain way, perform a certain way. It's like going into the bedroom. It best be making you calm and relaxed. It's like stepping into your office. It best pick you up and motivate you. But that's also the same with your friends. It's the same with the people that you hang around. You know, again, your network is your net worth, right? So you best be making sure that you've got quality people around you that inspire you, hold you up to a nice high level. But you also want those friends that you can switch off with and hang out with. And that's called the rule of 33%. And the rule of 33%, just you probably know, Brandon, but the rule of 33% is making sure that you're hanging around with 33% who are below you. And I don't mean that in an egotistical way.
Yeah.
I just mean in their drive and vision. Why? Because you can help them lift them. It also means that you can get a perspective on your life. The other 33% is yourself, making sure that other people are around at the same level. And then obviously above you. 10 to 15, 20 years above you as mentorship. You create that balance. What that means is that then you've got all different layers of perspective and help and support and guidance. And now that doesn't quite add up to 100%. I get that, but it's close.
Yeah. Well, I got to ask you, man. So what purpose does it serve to, I mean, when you talk about allocating your time, so you really think that you should spend a third of the time with people who are, I mean, I know this isn't, you didn't make this up, but you seem,
make this up. No.
Yeah, but you practice it, I'm sure, right? Or you try to practice it.
Totally.
So I'm curious, does it feel like it ever is pulling you down when you're spending, 33% of the time with the bottom third? Not that like they're any less valuable human beings, but they don't have the ambition that you have, and they're not in that growth mindset.
Right, absolutely. And you got to be so aware. It's like right now, I've been visiting family for the past probably a few months in the UK, and I don't live here, and it always brings me back. My grandparents have been passing, so I've been here for all of that, and I'm around my old school friends who I grew up with, and now I come from Liverpool. Liverpool's crazy.
I used to live in Liverpool actually. For a few months. I know Liverpool.
Then you know it. You know what we're like. So I left when I was 24. I'm 36 now, and I come back and nothing's changed in their lives. They've got a bit more of a mortgage, or they've had a kid, or there's no rapid growth. There's no obsessiveness. So for me to come back, the thing is, I don't get my nurture from them. I don't expect to get it from them. I don't try to get it from them. My nurture is from my friends in London who are multimillionaires, my friend in other parts of the country who are just like the top in the world at what they do. My nurture is everybody that I know across the world virally. My nurture is my podcast guests. My nurture is the courses I use online. But then guess what? It's also nice to switch your brain off and talk about crap. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be all the time, but guess what? It's quite refreshing, And so it's about, yes, you're absolutely right, buddy. If you're spending your time around them too much, the conversations are not on growth and expansion. And the things that they're moaning at, like the TV.
Liverpool and Everton.
Oh, dude. Liverpool and Manchester.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's about balance, dude. And I think, you get different, like I'll hang around with my little niece who's 12, and I mean, that's a totally different game again, but she teaches me so much. And I think hanging around with the 33% below you, I hate that word now, below you, but they teach you so much. And even if it's being humble, even if it's teaching you about controlling your ego, even if it's teaching you how to relate a product or a communication to that target audience, constantly teaches you, man, constantly teaches you. But you're right, the mind is holographic. So it does not understand what it sees on the outside, what it imagines, what it sees on TV. So if you're around that network constantly, you're right, you're building the wrong neural nets for sure.
Yeah, but no, it is a good balance of state management and understanding. Because we need to be balanced. We need to be able to relate to all kinds of people, because the majority of people are not growth minded, unfortunately.
No.
I wish everyone was, but it's a very small minority that is constantly in that growth mindset, looking to grow, expand, create. So it's good to definitely, be able to find that balance.
Definitely. And we constantly learn, and we don't know where the universe is going to give us these lessons from. And at the end of the day, whether I'm like going out for dinner with royalty or I'm hanging around with a bum on the street, they're just people. Mm-hmm. They're just people. And to me, they've all got wisdom. They've all got knowledge. And it's like, what do I know, right? What do I know? I've just been through what I've been through, and that's it. I only know what I know, I only know what I know.
Yeah, man. I wanted to circle things back around. I was curious when you're talking about creating a environment for yourself, especially in your home and in your office. I've heard that before. One of my friends, it's also a podcaster here in Austin, Abel James.
Okay.
Yeah, he's talked to me about that, about like creating like an office that inspires him, and creating a place where he comes and he feels like, okay, I'm ready to lock in. Can you talk to that and the effect that has on our state? Because I don't know if you notice here, but it kind of looks like a serial killer lives in my house. There's nothing on the walls. There's no...
You just clean and modern, mate. Clean and modern. That's all.
Yeah, so of course I want to hear for selfish reasons, but I'm sure this will benefit our listeners as well.
Oh, for sure. We're understanding about anchoring, right? And it really is about external anchoring. Anchoring, again, you might have explained this on the podcast to the listeners, I'm sure, to some degree. But anchoring, what's an anchor? Well, how many times you hear a piece of music and it takes you right back to that moment. Right there. You're in it, you're living, you're breathing, you probably start to... stand up and give yourself a little wiggle. Well, that's an anchor. It's called a stimulus response, and we can have negative and positive anchoring in our life. So what it means is that an external thing like a picture on a wall or a painting can fire a certain set of thoughts and feelings. So if it's like you're trying to write a children's book and there's a picture on the wall of Charlie Manson, guess what? That's not going to inspire you to write a kid's book. But if you were writing a kid's book and you've got loads of pictures of your family and loved ones and why you're writing this on the wall, that's going to constantly fire those right feelings. So it's the same with performance as an entrepreneur, because those things externally, even the colors and the concepts, will start to fire certain thought patterns and certain ways you're feeling. So what you want each room to do is to naturally, organically make you perform that way. As I said before, if you're going into the bedroom, it has to be a certain set of colors. It has to be that so you're calm and relaxed, and so you can go into sleep. So when you're looking like your environment, even if you've got a corner of a room, right? If you're in a one-bedroom place, a studio, that's cool. But wherever you're facing, you could paint that little corner. You could don't have to be expensive stuff, but you can just buy little posters that you could change around every month. That will give you a little kick of motivation that every time you look up, that you're inspired. I mean, to put this in a different context, like when I was in Bali, I lived in Bali the end of last year for 6 months. Like the place I stayed in was beautiful. It was so nice. And should I have been paying that much? No. We're not when there's people outside working very cheaply. But why I was paying that much is because I worked so hard. So I could look up, look at my view, my house, and feel so grateful, which would inspire me to work even harder. So external anchoring becomes so important for peak performance. And I could go on and on and on, but you get the idea, Brandon.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's powerful. I mean, I moved to my apartment here in Austin with this amazing view just so I could anchor this state. And I'm not saying everyone should really go outside their means and just do that, but do something, create it, like you said, create a corner of your room and maybe put people on the wall around you that make you feel like you're in a circle of influence of geniuses, like people in your field. If you're an engineer, put all the famous engineers, or if you're a writer, put all these amazing writers on the wall around you. It's like you're just hanging out with them all the time. You're living it.
I like that. Exactly, man. Exactly. Whatever inspires you to Yeah, to perform optimally, to perform at your best, to whatever inspires you to put your head back down and keep working, you know? Whatever that is, whatever piece of music. Anchoring can be music too. Because that's also something about being able to change state. I mean, you can anchor this to certain sets of music. That's why athletes come out to music, or it's like you might have that piece of music in the morning that gets you pumped up. But it also might be a piece of music that puts you in that state where you can work or get on stage or whatever the heck you're doing, you know? You get the idea.
Yeah, man. Love it, love it. So to conclude this interview, I asked everyone who comes on my show to tell me a story they've had in a flow state. And I hope everyone who listens to my show knows what a flow state has been out, but I'm just going to touch on it one more time. Flow state is essentially the state of mind you get into when you're in your most resourceful mindset. So you feel absolutely present, you're enjoying the moment, the process of what you're doing, and you're usually performing better than you ever have before. So sometimes you experience it in like amazing conversation. Sometimes you go out and have the best athletic experience of your life. Sometimes you sit down to write and you get into a flow state. And there's many different kinds we had. And Andy, I'd love to hear if you have an input about what you think a flow state is as well.
I love the question. I'm going to go with a strange one. Because everyone will be giving you, I know because you can ask that question a lot. Yeah. Everyone's going to give you like, a time where I was writing a book or a time I was on stage and the world disappeared. So I'm going to give you a different one.
Yeah, dude. Everyone's writing. I'm like, I've heard writing too many times now. I'm like, all right, okay, give me something interesting.
I'm going to give you a time, like most people don't tell you the times where they went wrong in life. I tell everyone the times that I went wrong in life. The reason why, I don't want anyone who's in my community, my friends, my clients, to go through what I've pushed myself through, because there's no need to. It's about folding time. And there was a point where a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, I closed my consulting business. And I went on into a finance business with a client of mine and totally changed careers. And again, that client's ego took over and left me, he owed me a lot of money and messed me around. So I was done. You know, nothing was there, like a fair few years ago now, 3 or so years ago. And it was that moment right there that I was so out of alignment in the finance world. I was doing sales. I was VP of the company and I just didn't like it. So all of that ended. He owed me money. The relationship ended, all the rest of it. And my friend said to me, "What are you going to do?" And I'm like, I just laughed and went, "Watch." So a flow state can be in the moment, like a specific task, but a flow state can be also over a period of long time. Now, what I did then was fell back into alignment. I remembered I was world class at what I did. I remembered how easy it is what I do. And so what I did then was sit down and begin to design what this next stage in my life was. And the flow state, it was just like autopilot. It just, the words come out of you, the visions come out of you, the ideas flow out of you. Work becomes effortless and easy because you connect in alignment again. And when you're in that alignment again, and then everything becomes easy. It becomes simple. You become like that magnet because you radiate to the world that passion. And when you radiate in the world that passion, then you're present, you love in what you're doing, which guess what? You're firing the right brainwave frequencies, which will make sure that you're in that flow state. So That's my little flow state story.
Absolutely, man. And so when we talk about alignment, so many people struggle to find that alignment. And, I've struggled for years and I feel like I'm finally here. Like I'm aligned. Like I know exactly what I was put on this earth to do and I'm doing it right now. But what do you say to someone who hasn't found that alignment and wants to activate this flow state? Of course It's a journey, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. And there's no answer. There's no clear-cut answer, but I'd love to talk about it.
It's the same with everything, and that's what people need to understand with anything. There's no right or wrong. It's just an opinion, and everyone just makes a belief with the knowledge that they have at the time. And that includes science. It includes everything. But one more time, the full question, buddy, because I went off on a tangent.
Man.
Question. So purpose, alignment. Got it. I'm back. I've been going for 12 hours already, dude.
I hear you, man. You're killing it.
So It's funny. Remember, first of all, where you are now is just where you are now. It's not who you are. That's the first thing to always remember. And I got that lesson straight away after, again, in New Zealand, changing total lives and careers. And it's about a transition. So first of all, you've got to understand that from where you are now to where you're going to go to, there is a transitional period. Everyone's been taught by a media bias, by Hollywood, that over a 90-minute movie, you become a rock star so fast, right? And guess what? That's a 90-minute movie that you're all pumped up about, but then you've got, that movie was set over like 18 months. So understand that first of all. But the first place to start is, again, it's like, who actually writes out their perfect day? And I mean, everyone goes, yeah. Have you done it? No. I bet you haven't. I bet 99% of the listeners out there have not wrote down, as in we're talking for pages and pages and pages, the detail of their perfect life and perfect day. That's where you start. You write down all the things that excite you to do that you wouldn't get paid for. And guess what? That starts to change your reticular activating system, your filter system in your brain, and it starts to search for those things. Now, that's a great place to start. But then understand that you must put piece by piece together. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. And every single piece that you get goes into this concept as you design your mind, you design your life. And so to be in alignment, all that truly means is there's nothing else that you'd rather do. You do it for free. You do it for money. You just do it. And it's like with me, okay, I get paid for what I do, but I honest to God don't know anything else I would do in my life but this, because it's all I know. So when you can find that, then that's being in alignment. But obviously it's a journey to get there. So what that means is you have to test and measure everything. You don't know what you're going to like or dislike until you've experienced it. So that then comes wisdom. So it's about stepping out your comfort zone, driving forwards, seeing what you like, you don't like, seeing what you're good at and you're not good at, and it's building on your strengths, not your weaknesses. So it's a key element to the elite rich and all the rest of it. That's what they do. They find their strengths and they build on their strengths. So when you're just building on your strengths, guess what? You become exceptional at what you're already good at. So then you become world class. And that was a decision I got taught 12 odd years ago. Become world class. Because if you become world class, you're in world class demand and you're in world class money. And so there's a journey. Obviously, it's taken me 12 years to get to this point. It's not something that can happen in a 90-minute movie, but designing what you want, writing all that down logically, it starts to activate that right part of your brain, which is the creative side. So then you can start visualizing, practicing, and blah, blah, blah.
Definitely. So really getting clarity and then going forward in that one thing. And you may pivot many times, but just start going and put one foot in front of another. And and I think that mastery, that becoming world class is where that alignment comes from. Where everything almost becomes unconscious because you know it so well, and you just get to act, you get to live, and that's where those flow states really come from.
Absolutely. So, that's the unconscious competence.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
So we'll conclude with that, Andy. Thank you so much for coming on, and please tell my listeners where they can find out more about you.
A couple of different places. You could certainly go to my podcast, which is Mindset by Design on iTunes. You can also go and check out andymurphy.biz. Something I'm offering temporarily is just a little free focus session with me where we look at there's not many, it's pretty exclusive and limited, but there's some available where we look at exactly where you are now. We give you some strategies to take rapid action, and then, we look at where you are and what you can do next.
That's awesome, man. And I think anyone would love the opportunity to get inside that brain of yours and get some advice. So thank you again for coming on. And
my pleasure.
Let's do it again soon, brother.
Absolutely. Cheers, Brendan. Real pleasure. Thank you.